Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another devlog for Dauphin. Today is Saturday just before 8 a.m. Maybe an uncommon time for me to start a devlog, but I've been away from home so many weekends this summer, and this weekend there is nothing on the calendar, so it should be a great opportunity to enjoy some development and show you how I try to balance that with actual free time. You haven't missed much so far this morning. I slept until around 7 after a late night catching up on the Olympics, got some coffee started, and enjoyed my Wim Hof breathing practice on the front porch as that brewed. Now, closer to 8, I am at my desk to get organized for the day. That process starts with two things, the first of which is my bullet journal. I've been keeping this thing since the beginning of this year, using it to primarily track habits and daily to-dos, events, and notes. It might sound silly, but if I write down a task for the day in this thing, I get it done, mostly just because I want to cross it out. So it's been a really great tool for me. Next, I try to catch up on emails and general correspondence. Most days I don't really have too much to catch up on here, but today I do, and I've also been dropping into the new DevDuck Discord server in the mornings to see what's up. Check out the link in the description if you'd like to join. It's been a blast getting to know more of you and chat about your projects. With all that done, and assuming I'm actually going to get to work on Dauphin and not goof off and play video games, I'll pop into Trello to grab a development task. This is the current state of that Trello board. I'll be the first to admit it's had its ups and downs since the start of the project, but I generally try and keep it up to date with my feature work, and I find that the more effort I put into creating and organizing my tasks here, the easier it is for me to sit down in the morning and actually get started working on something. As you can see here, the next feature on the docket is what I'm calling the research log. This is an important concept for me in Dauphin. This UI component will live in the field notes and will allow the player to track organisms that they've discovered in the world and saved from corruption. My basic idea here is the more instances of a single type of organism you save, the more you learn about them, and more of this knowledge will unlock more content. Not limited to, but possibly including having that organism as a companion. So once I get all organized here, I'll kick off development hopefully before 9 a.m. I'll check in soon. Alright, quick update here as we come up on 10 a.m. Looking at the Trello board, you can see that I've completed my first 3 small tasks here in this research log milestone. If we jump over to the engine, the most important one of these was setting up the resource that represents the research data for each organism, and this is what that class looks like so far. Still very much a work in progress, but the idea is that there's going to be one of these resources associated with every organism, and this data is what's going to be used to populate the research log. So now I have to go add this data to all my organisms and start building the UI for the log itself. That said, I've been sitting here at my desk for about 2 hours this morning, so I think it's time to get up and get moving. Gonna head outside for a walk through the woods before lunch. Just after 12 o'clock here now. I thoroughly enjoyed my round of disc golf through the woods. I've actually just started playing since I found a course near my new home, and I'm kind of getting addicted to it. Showered, ate some lunch, and did a little wedding planning, and now I'm back at my desk. Before I jump back into development, I'm actually going to start editing this video that you're watching. At some point in the course of my YouTube journey, I realized that my videos have a much more kind of cohesive flow if I edit them as I film, so that I can adjust what I'm filming to kind of match the pacing of the video, if that makes sense. Once that's done, I will start to build some UI for the research log. Alright, it is now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've made great progress on the video and good progress on the research log UI. Of course, you saw me creating my little whiteboard prototype in the clip earlier, and I just got started creating that as its own scene in the engine. There's really not a lot worth showing you here yet, but hopefully you get the idea of how this might come together. I'm thinking the left page will have a tiled collection of organisms, both discovered and undiscovered, and if they are undiscovered, they will have kind of a mask to hide what they are. The right page will show a detailed view of the selected organism as long as you've saved it from corruption at least once. Plenty of work to go here on this thing, but I'm thinking it's going to have to wait until tomorrow. I'm overdue to get out of my office and get moving again, and I have been on the grind today, so development stamina is running a bit low. I reckon I'll give myself this Saturday evening to enjoy tucking into a video game and hanging out on the porch with my better half. That'll get me recharged for another productive day tomorrow. Until then. Good morning, y'all. We have made it to 9 a.m. here on Sunday morning. Had a productive start with a good workout and some progress editing the devlog, but now it's time to jump back into my research log work. When I started on this yesterday, I began to realize just how complex this might be based on the nature of the field notes book alone. There are a lot of pages that I have to correctly manage with these tabs on the right side here, and apart from controlling their visibility, I also have to manage which one is capturing input. So I have some foundational work to do here this morning, after which I'm hoping to make some progress on the collection view portion here on the left. Alright, fast forward to 10:45 in the morning and time for a quick check-in. Actually meant to pause around 10 o'clock and give an update, but I got super sucked into this and made a bunch of progress, which is awesome. So that progress has manifested itself in this organism collection page, as I'm calling it, and this is going to be kind of that left page that I was talking about, from which you'll be able to select an organism to view its details on the right page. So here on our collection page, you can see there's a lot going on. We have a grid container on top and a grid container on the bottom. This one on the bottom still needs a lot of work. This is going to contain the individual organisms. But this grid container on the top is what I've been spending the past hour or so on. And this grid container on the top is going to represent the classifications for the various organisms that you'll be able to encounter in Dauphin. If you look over to my hierarchy here, you can actually see what those classifications are going to be. Things like mammalia, aves, reptilia, amphibia, and I actually consulted with my marine biologist buddy on whom this game is based to come up with these, so that was pretty cool. The idea here is that you'll be able to click on one of these buttons on top to kind of filter by that particular classification. So you'll click on mammalia, and of course you will see the listing of mammals that you've both discovered and have not discovered down here in the list below. So I've made a start at hooking this thing up in game, and it actually looks pretty cool so far. If we click on our orange tab down here, you can see our collection page overlaid on the field notes themselves here on the left side. Now obviously from here there is a lot of work to do. First I'll probably end up creating the pixel art for each of these tiny little representations of these classifications, and once the UI is done there, this whole left page will really need a brain of its own to keep track of which of these classifications is selected, and then filter on a global list of organisms and their data to only show organisms down below from that particular classification. I have the data set up to support this, but not the brain or controller for this whole page yet. So that's probably what I'll be working on next. That said, it's been a very productive morning, and I reckon it's time again to get up and stretch my legs. I think I'll take a break and pick this back up in the afternoon. All right, checking in again at 4 p.m. this Sunday afternoon after a nice short 5-hour break. Just kidding, it's 4 p.m., but a relaxing break is about the opposite of how I spent that time. Got another round of disc golf in, which was great, and Kate and I decided we should also try to knock out that tiny little yard project of planting some banana trees that my neighbor gave me. Turns out that was no small effort, and after digging up all that grass and dirt and hauling it off to the dump, I think it's safe to say I could have skipped a back day this morning. Anyway, I'm all done and showered, feeling accomplished, and I think I've got just enough gas to make a bit more progress on my organism collection screen here. Not going to dive in too deep, thinking I'll just work on the artwork for those icons and maybe the classification selection logic. Going to try and time box this to an hour, so we'll catch up then. Alright everyone, welcome back to the final update of the devlog here on Monday morning. Totally meant to give my final update yesterday, but as you saw, I ended up streaming my last development session of the day, which was a ton of fun but left me pretty gassed and ready to call it quits. That hour-long stream was mostly spent chatting with you all and answering questions about Dauphin, so I can't really say I made a ton of progress here on my research log. I had a pretty good start implementing the buttons here for filtering by classification, but never really got them hooked up to my organism collection page class, which is the brain of this UI that I mentioned earlier. But that's okay, I have a great roadmap for continuing development into this week, and overall I consider this past weekend an absolute success. I really hope you all enjoyed a look into how I try to keep things balanced between work and play over my typical weekend. Big thanks to everyone who came to check out the stream. That was a lot of fun and I hope to do more of it soon. And finally, of course, I want to give a shout out to my awesome Garami supporters on Patreon. Cody Odin, Finnickfu Games, Mega Ombre, Vlad Sunny, James Kennedy, and Jess Zargo. If you enjoyed this kind of less technical, more productivity lifestyle type of video, let me know with a like or comment. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course I'll see you in the next video.